Okay, this is your first and final warning. I'm going to be spoiling the plot of Nine Souls and a little bit of Silksong. If you beat the game and were met with a moment of fervent neuroticism about this story, or if you don't care about spoilers, then cool, keep watching. If you haven't played the game and intend to do so, come back after you do that. The video will be here. I'll wait. But for Sketchy, the person who suggested this game without beating it yourself first, don't you fucking dare click away. This one's for you. Okay, everyone accounted for? All filtered out? Cool. After 22 hours of zipping around New Kunlan exacting revenge on my former co-workers and letting Shuan Shuan raise himself in VR chat, the final thought on my mind was forgiveness. You might not think that a sci-fi Kill Bill style romp through a spaceship of species desperately trying to survive the epidemic of an unstoppable virus would explore such an idea, but here we are. Yi, our main character, is a beyond capable being. He can fight, slingshot, pray, teleport, teach, seek vengeance, and parry a nuke. But one thing that it takes him the entire runtime of the game to do is forgive, specifically himself. And before you get all up in arms about, oh, people forgive everyone all the time, Waffle forgave him in the first hour. Shut the fuck up. It's my essay. It's my playthrough. My thoughts. My opinions. It's no secret that Yi is a deeply complex and very flawed person, and yet he still finds it in himself to forgive all those who seek his mercy. Not that many of them do, but above all, he does most of it not for a self righteous mission, as many of his soon to be victims love to taunt him about, but for the sole reason of needing to forgive himself. He's a man haunted by the ghost of his own past, whether it's the giant dystopian life raft that is Nukunlan, or the half millennium old voice messages from his most definitely 100% possibly still alive and healthy sister that love reaching him when he has nothing better to do than sitting a waste compactor box or ride sideways elevators. Forgiveness and mercy is shown in so many aspects of the story, whether it's Kwafu for his ignorance and compliance in Yi's assassination attempt, Yi being willing to spare Lady Ethereal, the architect of the Soulscape program, or the people of Peach Blossom Village for worshipping the souls as gods, despite being a desperate race of survivors of a plague who enslaved the 8 men and used them as unwilling organ donors. All these can be accepted as evil, or at least willfully ignorant, but Yi finds it in his heart to forgive them without ever giving that same kindness to himself until the very end. So, today, let's talk about Nine Souls and finding the courage to forgive yourself. If you're wondering why Yi needs forgiveness in the first place, buddy, I warned you. Yi is the architect of the Eternal Cauldron project, something that goes up there for some of the most sinister acts I've seen in video games. Yes, including the Weavers, but if that doesn't make sense, go play Silksong. While the Tian Ho virus while the Tian Hao virus ravaged the planet while the, fuck. While the Tian Hao virus ravaged the planet of Penglai without hope of a cure, the council, made of all the brightest minds and who's of Penglai, racked their brains together for a solution to the inevitable eradication of their people. Yi, with his big ass galaxy sized brain, then suggested his 5-point plan. First, gather 100,000 unaffected or barely affected Solarians to be the last survivors of their race. 2. Put them in a rejuvenation tank that induces an infinite Tsukiyomi. 3. Abduct the earliest humans from Earth and harvest their brains to maintain said infinite Tsukiyomi. 4. Turning Penglai's sacred tree, which, by the way, was originally planted by the greatest Solarian to ever live to symbolize peace and solidarity. Yeah, that tree he turned into an interstellar arc. And 5, he utilized the power of said tree to fuck off 500 light years away from the dying planet, leaving his friends, family, and his little sister behind to deal with it on their own. And needless to say, it all backfires. He is a D1 villain, and he spends a lot of time beating himself up for it. He didn't want to leave his sister behind on Penglai. He didn't know that humans experience fear, pain, suffering, and love the same way as him, nor did he know his twin wouldn't slide when his big homie slimed him out. But while he was able to forgive mostly everyone else involved, It was himself that chose to carry the weight. Being saddled with all that burden isn't for the faint of heart, but he still chooses to. While he doesn't forgive his co-workers for the troubles that he made himself, he does have the ability to be sympathetic throughout the course of the story, each time displaying a kindness that he desperately sought himself. Throughout his time on Noon Lang, he is introduced and reintroduced to its residents, and they are some yappers. The three I would like to highlight are the residents of Peach Blossom Village, namely the shaman, the Nine Souls, and most importantly, Shuan Shuan. The first forgiveness he finds is with the people of Peach Blossom Village. These humans are some of Earth's earliest intelligent life, and the same people he abducted for the sake of powering the soulscape. At the beginning of the story, after getting slimed out on a cliff by his master Egong, he finds himself in this village and decides to live among them to hide out. During this time, he sees firsthand their ignorance, their willingness to accept higher powers without question. This is by design, of course, but when he comes face to face with the shaman of the village after saving them from being harvested by Ji Quan's Reaniman, he learns that the shaman has known the truth regarding their imprisonment for the majority of her life. To be honest, when this realization came, I was infuriated, but when you pull the camera back, you find that Yi doesn't chastise her heavily for it, because he's just as much of a cornered animal as she is. Both are stuck up against a force of nature, doing everything they can to ensure survival and are effectively their people's best hopes. The only difference is that the people of Peach Blossom Village didn't have a plague to contend with. They had Yi, in the domineering species of the Solarians. It's a losing battle for both. Instead of reprimanding her for not doing more, he realizes that there were few other options, and while he doesn't outright apologize, nor is he in a position to forgive his captives, he does acknowledge their plight and seek to aid them in escape from their captors. Which leads me into Yi's relationship with his former co-workers, the Nine Souls. While Yi is absolutely dedicated to his mission to retrieve each of their seals, he never explicitly takes pride in killing them. As a matter of fact, many times he only takes them by force, asking for their seal in exchange for calling off the straight belt to ass whooping that would take place after. Huafu is the only one who takes this deal, which comes with its own confrontation of loyalty. See, Huafu is Yi's twin, but despite not being aware of the plan to betray Yi, he did nothing to avenge his brother's death. It's a pain that can really last, and just as actions of violence can provoke retaliation, inaction on the part of those you trust most can be equally perpetual. Even when they finally come face to face after 500 years, Yi comes the closest to genuinely wanting to kill his soul as he ever does because of the pain of betrayal. Huafu obviously seeks his forgiveness immediately, and while tense, Yi almost instantly forgives Huafu. It's a beautiful moment in an otherwise dark story where Yi displays his ability to have empathy. Huafu is partly to blame for not doing anything. This also extends to the confrontation with Lady Ethereal, who, in my opinion, is the most sympathetic of the souls. Her Soulscape project was never meant to go online, but after pressure from Yi and Egong, she quietly let an invasive, flawed procedure be greenlit for the survivors of her own people. She did not want to do this, and when Yi finds her as a prisoner of her own machine's creation, his first action is to help her, to save her. However, she does not believe herself to be worthy of the forgiveness that she is given. She lashes out at Yi, fights him to the death, and eventually damns herself for everything she's done. It's pitiful, and you feel bad, not only because, it's Lady Ethereal, but because she couldn't forgive herself for a sin she didn't seek to commit. Yi sees example after example of people grappling with their ghosts and having to answer for himself what forgiveness means and whether he's worthy of it, knowing that other Solarian sins are the result of his 5D chess move that he was so sure of 500 years ago. Finally, Shuan Shuan and Heng. Yeah, I'm cheating, but scene after scene really hammers away the fact that these two are mirrors of each other, with Yi doing his best to be the older brother that he wishes he could have been for Heng. Throughout the story, Yi is constantly bringing back trinkets, souvenirs, and teaching materials for Shuan Shuan, enlightening the kid to all of the remaining Solarian culture. Of course, there is the pride of his people that he has, but he also takes the time to really teach Shuan Shuan about these things without the same condescending tone that he tended to have with Heng. Personally, I think the way in which he looks after and shows up for Shuan Shuan is a reflection of the forgiveness he prays for from Heng. The way Yi broke away from his family was messy, and while internally he yearned for them to come with him, out loud he blamed them and he left them. And those are the parting feelings he left them with. In reality, he always wanted them to join him for them to live, but by the time he wakes up and realizes how long it's been, he knows he has to live with that pain. Xuan Xuan consequently represents an opportunity, moral atonement for the way he treated Heng. He goes out of his way time and time again to make sure he is cared for, loved, and protected. This even delves into the true ending of the game, in which you have to get almost every collectible and relic, acting as a little narrative example of you being the older brother Yi wishes he was. It's only through these actions, this effort to become better than he was before, does Yi find the true path towards the ultimate mercy. To put it bluntly, I believe in mercy, forgiveness, and second chances. A singular life to do everything perfectly is a terrible expectation that is counterintuitive to our nature and impossible to achieve. I try to give people in my life that grace and levity, and I've seen on both ends what that power can do. However, for those who have wronged, mercy and forgiveness come with a cost. Yi, despite not playing by the one life rule that we as humans are shackled to, also understands this. He is the architect of the Eternal Cauldron Project. He is the man who abandoned his family in their final moments, and from the moment the game begins, he knows that he will put an end to it. After facing down all of his peers, securing an escape for the 8 men, and collecting all the tools necessary, he puts his plan into action. You see, the cost of mercy is sacrifice. As primitive as it sounds, the best apology is changed behavior, and the weight of the sin governs the severity of that change. Yi knows that there are few things left that he can do, and as one of the few remaining Solarians with his head on straight, he understands that it's his duty to answer to the weight of his people's crimes. He puts Xuan Xuan on the final life raft, entrusting him to Kwafu, and heads off to face his master Igong one last time, but there's one catch. He plans to pay his toll in the process. Yi steps into the arena with the greatest threat to the universe, and he has no intention of leaving. And what follows is absolute cinema. In the end, there's no escape plan like there was from Pinglai. It's Yi, Igong, Tianho, and a single destructive bullet. In his final moment, Yi thanks the people who carried him through his sins, asks for Xuan Xuan's forgiveness one last time, and finally makes the change that he desperately sought. It's a heart-wrenching moment, watching as he has to hurt his friends one last time, but after taking on the responsibility of his race and himself, he opts to erase their influence from the universe and give the 8 men a chance to start anew, unburdened by the Solarians. It's painful for the survivors who knew him not as the villain that damned their races to a scientific hellscape, but the redeemed hero who saved them and paid the ultimate price in order to do so. So, you have to wonder in the end, was that enough? Well, not only in the end does he finally forgive himself for his mistakes, but the most important person meets him in the afterlife, just as she was the day he left, waiting with open arms to spend an eternity with her favorite person. Atonement for past mistakes comes with acceptance of our willingness to make that mistake and our responsibility to correct them. A life can be greatly influenced by ghosts of the past, but the dismissal of their importance is what allows the greatest change. I loved every single second of Nine Souls, from its combat to the exploration to the small moments of rest. Every second spoke to me. Like most people have said, it's Hollow Knight meets Sekiro, but after my time with it, this title is so much more than a game wearing the skins of titans. Nine Souls is a game about parrying AC 130s, unaliving your shit-talking coworkers, and most of all, learning how to forgive yourself, no matter the cost. To the 12 people who took a second to sit down and listen or watch or consume this video in any way, I want to thank you. This game absolutely stunned me. I was grinning from ear to ear the entire time. The true ending actually got a tear out of me, and it was really powerful. Sometimes I think it's too late to have formative experiences, and then all of a sudden I just get hit with something crazy like this. Um, this was an absolutely great experience, and thank you for watching. This took a lot of effort and time and editing, and honestly pulling myself away from other games that I've been playing and writing about. But I wanted to get this one out because um, it's just a damn good experience. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.